Self-defense, it's a basic human right. Unfortunately, a lot of the powers that be like to restrict our ability to defend ourselves and our family. Obviously, there's the firearm, there's the knife, there's pepper spray, there's some different items that are pretty common in use, but yet they're highly regulated, and you can end up in jail. Another thing too is sometimes more lethal options are not necessarily the tool that you need. And sometimes a less lethal type option can be used more effectively. And a lot of these items that we're going to look at are going to be more discreet. And so today we're going to take a look at a number of different things. A lot of these are very familiar, some of them might not be, but it just mainly gets you to think about the tools you use for self-defense. Because guys, you need to have the ability, because again, it is a basic human right. Now, one thing that I would highly recommend is getting into some kind of self-defense training. For us, we've been into martial arts for years, and it's a very great way to get in good shape, but also to really be able to be effective when it comes to an encounter. But also knowing pressure points, that's a big thing. There are a lot of different diagrams showing you places that are more effective than others. I highly recommend you doing your study on your own. And all the items that I'm going to show really direct themselves toward pressure point defense. Guys, somebody can be much bigger than you, and you can still use these items to deter and possibly to get away from the situation. Well guys, we have a number of just self-defense items here. There are some that are pretty basic. There are others that are going to be more advanced. You need to check your local laws, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But I think you're going to find something here that you're going to be able to use. But one of the things that I want really to demonstrate is that you can use almost anything, and you've got to have a mindset. So that's one of the things about these tools. They're small, they're easy to carry, they're portable, but they can be very effective. And honestly, you don't need a lot of training. Now, for most of us, concealed carry is our primary self-defense option, but that is a lethal weapon, and there are a lot of laws and a lot of things that go around that. And there are many that just can't carry concealed, especially if you're from another country. But also knives. Knives are great to have, a pocket knife, and can be used for self-defense, but there needs to be a little more skill when it comes to a knife. And then there's pepper spray. And pepper spray really makes a great non-lethal option, but there are people at times that are not affected that much by pepper spray. Well, guys, number one is the flashlight. It is your number one security tool. And honestly, flashlights are used more for self-defense than any other tool that you can have. One of the reasons is because you can carry a flashlight anywhere. And of course, it's according to the style. Now, if you get something with a crenulated bezel like this, you could raise some eyebrows if you're going into a restricted area. But overall, people carry flashlights, and they really seem to be harmless. And honestly, if you're carrying a really tiny little pocket light, like a keychain light, it can be fairly harmless. But we're going to look at a couple of things here, and we're going to start out with just something like this. Now, this is not made for self-defense. It's a pen light. There's a number of different companies that make these. This just happens to be the Olight i5T. This is an excellent light, and it uses AA batteries. But what I love is that you can grab it and take your thumb, and you can use this as an impact tool. You could even use it this way, but the best way is kind of like an ice pick. Just grab it and to be able to use it. Now, this is a little bit long, but it gives you a little more leverage, and I like the thinness. But then you may have something that's kind of small like this with a crenulated bezel, which this is used really primarily for self-defense. But you need to make sure that at least part of it comes out beyond your hand. And that way you can use this as an impact tool toward vulnerable areas of the body. Now, what are those areas? Well, around the throat, around the face, in the hands, in different pressure points that are all over the body. And just think about it. If somebody takes a sharp object like this, or even like this, and they start jabbing you in the ribs, it's going to cause a lot of pain. And hopefully it will get them off of you, especially if you're weaker. You could have somebody that comes against you that's a lot stronger, and this way you can use this as a force multiplier like we've been talking about. And that is the big thing with these lights, no matter what size you get. Now, this one gives you a little more gripping, more than this thin one. But the best thing is to go somewhere and just put some different flashlights in your hand. See what really fits. And again, see if it comes out just a little bit, and it'll give you just that point of impact. This can really deter an attacker. I mean, this gives you just something that has a really hard surface, and if somebody comes and pops you with this, you can imagine how that's going to feel. So use it accordingly, and then you have a good self-defense tool, honestly, that you can carry anywhere. Number 2 would be a tactical pen. A lot of times you can get by with carrying one of these. Sometimes if it's something that has more of a strong point, or it just seems like it's a little more than just a pen, you know, it could draw some attention. But typically this little Boker, and this is the SID caliber 45. It is a bolt action pen. It's metal. While it doesn't have a tip that you can use for self-defense, it has a flat place where you can put your thumb. And again, you start impacting in those potential vulnerable areas, those pressure points, just anywhere. This is going to be very painful. But again, they do make pens that have a little more to them. Now this one has a little carbide tip, and it's really made in case for an emergency tool if you need to get out of a vehicle and you have to break the window. But this is also just a pen. And it's nice and sturdy. You can get a hold of it. You can use it, again, as an impact tool. You can even use the tip of the pen, because honestly, if you're in that kind of situation, you want all the advantage you can get. And some have a direct point. Now this is a carbide tip. You can imagine how painful that would be if you're jabbing that into someone. I mean, even into their sides, into their legs, arms, hands, face, neck. I mean, there's so many different points. But here's the cool thing is I can take it and just turn it around, and now I've got a standard pen. But I could still use this if I needed to. Then when it comes to this brass pen, now this is heavy. It's going to give you a little more advantage just because of the weight. And it does have this tip. It's a blunt tip right here. And again, you're going to be able to use this very effectively and with that extra weight. One thing too is you can curl this in your hand, and while it's not a set of brass knuckles, it does give you a little more force when you're using it. And of course you have those ends that you can use. Really, it's almost like a Kubotan, which we're going to look at those specifically in a minute. But this gives you really the best of both worlds, and if you need to write something, you have the pen, you can write things down. And then of course you can put it on this end. There is a blue bazillion of these type tactical pens out on the market. So you can check that out and see what really fits you, what's your style, and that's the other thing. Some of these look kind of crazy, but if you want something that just looks kind of natural, you can go with that too. But now this is one of my favorites. This is just a black Sharpie, right? But it has a Min 2, and these guys make AR-15 magazines. But they also make one of the most discreet tactical self-defense tools out there. This is a tip that is some kind of carbon fiber, and it's very strong. And while you can carry this and get away with it, I mean, it is exactly like your standard black Sharpie. In fact, I have to look to make sure that I'm picking up the right one. But if you're carrying this in your pocket, this is going to be a devastating option as a weapon. And two, you're not going to draw any attention with this kind of tool. But these are just really one of those things that when I found it, I was shocked. And then I bought everyone in my family one. They can put this away, and they've always got something that they can use in a self-defense situation. But I'll be honest, guys, if I had this in my pocket, and this is just a standard pen, nothing any different, it's just a Uniball Onyx, I can use this as a self-defense tool as well. Now it's going to give and it's going to bend some, but man, you can really hit those pressure points with this. And while it's not going to be quite as effective as these metal pens, this is something that's going to give you an advantage. And that's one of the big things is whatever you have at hand, use it. And if you're thinking that way, it's just going to give you the mindset just to fight, and losing is not an option. Next, we're going to talk about the Kubotan. Now, the Kubotan is an Asian developed weapon, but they weren't developed until the 60s. And this is really a highly modified Kubotan. Honestly, they're just rods with grooves in them, and a lot of police agencies use them. A lot of people use them for self-defense, and you can put them on your keychain. There's not really any laws that regulate Kubotans. There are some maybe in Europe, but here in the U.S., it's pretty broad. But again, you still want to check to make sure that there are no laws against carrying something. Now this one is just a steel rod with a cushioned rubberized piece. And man, you can really use this to high effectiveness, and even this way. But this gives you a lot of options, and it's just a steel rod, and this will slip in your pocket. I found this on eBay. I just ordered it because I love this. It's just got that feel to it. It's very strong, and yet it's comfortable in my hand. And so coming across this way, going into more of just a piercing, and yet it's still going to be a non-lethal option. And this is a style of the Kubotan as well. Now this is really fancy. It's brass, and it has those grooves where you can get a real good hold on it, and it has the tip. So this is going to be very effective, but this would probably draw more attention than this, while this actually also may draw attention. But the standard Kubotan is just an excellent tool in itself. Now with that, you can use a dowel rod. You can slip this in, and you can even get a thicker dowel rod and be able to use this the same way you can use a Kubotan. The problem is this could break, and especially in a high stress situation. But here I just have a standard punch, and with this I could actually use this in the same way I could use a Kubotan. Any kind of piece of rod that you can find, and it may be something that's just laying on the ground. So this is very versatile, but yet it gets it out just like the flashlight, just a little more past your hand, and then you can use it in a self-defense situation. Again, to get those pressure points, to get those weak spots, there are a lot of places that you can use something like this to defend yourself from an attacker. Now we're going to get into some of the more exotic and honestly a little more effective, but these are going to draw definitely some attention. I mean, if you're searched or you have to draw this out, this could be an issue. So first off, we're just going to look at the spike, and I bought this at Blade Show a few years ago. It's pretty cool. You can put your hand in here, you can hold it, and then you have this sharp edge that comes out. I mean, this could be very effective. I mean, you have a good grip with your finger through it, and you can hold it. You can even use it as an impact tool this way. And then, of course, with the spike, you can use it this way. And it's a good, sturdy piece. I believe this was actually made out of a railroad spike. So this is a very effective tool. And then we have what they call the Marlin spikes. Now, when I bought this, it was at a Blade Show in Atlanta, and the guy had these, and he called it a Marine spike. And I thought he was talking about the U.S. Marines because he is a former Marine. But actually, the Marlin spike is used by sailors to be able to tie knots, and they can use this surface to do different knot designs, and that being Marine, as in sailor, but also I could see this as a U.S. Marine, and it has this bank line kind of material at the top to give you a little traction, and then it comes down to a very sharp point. I mean, almost like a ice pick on steroids. This thing is incredibly pointed and would be very strong, and as a self-defense tool this would be highly effective. The problem is that it is an offensive weapon, and there could be laws against carrying this, or that it would just draw attention. And then there's the shorter one, which for me, for self-defense, I would definitely carry the shorter one. This just gives you a little more, of course you can get your thumb up there and you can lock in to the fibers, but man, this would be an incredible tool, except that this would pierce. And with this one, I mean, this could be a lethal weapon. And with this even, I mean, it has a very long, sharp tip to it. So you want to be careful with these kind of things, but I just wanted to bring them out to the table. This is a very unusual tool here. Now this is, I believe it's G&G Sales where I found this. And this is actually a tool that will actually deflate a tire. And so you can punch this into a tire and it deflates it because it has that air opening right there. But this can also be used as a self-defense option. I would say these should be last resort. I wouldn't say you should carry these around, but it is something that you can use. And I just think they're pretty cool. Now this is kind of like a Kubotan, but it's really big, it's long, it's made of some kind of Delrin material, and it's easy to grab. This is actually a training tool, but I found this on eBay. I just thought it was cool, so I ordered it. I've had it for a little while, but this is something that you can use very effectively. It's a little bit large. I would probably cut it down to about right here to give me a little less length. but that extra length can give you more leverage. So this is just something, again, it's just one of those things that gives you some ideas about what is out there, what's available. And honestly, in your standard toolbox, there are a lot of different tools that you could use as a self-defense option. Guys, while there are a lot of options right here, there are many more that are out there, and it's finding something according to where you live, and also just, being more discreet, like your flashlight, your tactical pen. Then you get up to the Kubotan and of course the Marlin Spike, and those things get a little bit more toward more liability. So keep a cool head, but have the tools you need in a self-defense situation. Guys, when it comes to fire, it is essential to survival, and having a good fire kit and knowing how to use it is vital for survival situations. And Exotac makes the best fire starters on the market. Made in the USA, down in Winder, Georgia, using really high-grade aluminum, they machine some really beautiful handles, a lot of different features, replaceable ferro rods, and a number of other different fire starting tools. You get 20% off using Suits20 with a link down below in the description. And a big thank you to Exotac for sponsoring today's video. So guys, self-defense, again, a basic human right. You need to have the tools necessary to be able to defend yourself and your family. And a lot of times these are force multipliers, and while you may face an assailant that may be bigger or more capable than you are, it gives you some advantages. Again, check your local laws, making sure that you stay compliant, but yet when it comes to self-defense, really, you should be able to do whatever you need to do. And also with these tools, take responsibility. Don't pull it out and use it before really you need to. And it's one of the problems with a lot of the concealed carry is that they draw these firearms when really they should just leave it and defuse the situation. So use good judgment when it comes to self-defense. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Pepper spray can be highly regulated. It can be regulated. And of course, we can just take this off and do nothing with it. What the restrictions or, okay. And, even if you did it, well, you don't want to do it that way, okay?